Hello guys, let's begin. So in this video I will start from directive principles. Previously we saw about fundamental rights. So fundamental rights were in part 3. Directive principles or Dpsps whatever are in part 4. Article 37 states that these provisions shall not be enforceable by any court, but principles laid down are nevertheless fundamental in governance of country, and it shall be the duty of state to apply these principles in making laws. So Article 37 says that Dpsps, although they will not be enforceable in any court of law in India, but these are the principles, these are the basic principles which needed to be applied by the government in making laws. These directives put an obligation, means duty, on state to take positive action in order to promote the welfare of people. So DPSP puts a duty on the part of state, that is the government, to take actions which are for the welfare of the people and its country. Article 38, subclause 1 states that state shall survive to promote welfare of people by securing and protecting as effectively as it may a social order in which justice, social, economic and political shall inform all institutions of national life. And Article 38, subclause 2 states that state shall in particular strive to minimize the inequalities in income and endeavor to eliminate inequalities in status, facilities and opportunities not only amongst individuals but also amongst groups of people residing in different areas or engaged in different vocations. So Article 38 1 means that state main function is to take actions which will promote the welfare of the people and the nation, and law and order situation will also be maintained, and there will be justice, social, economic and political equality, and the institutions of national life, wildlife and plants and humans, that all will live in a social and law and order situation. Means there would be peace, harmony, and the welfare of the people will have to be secured by the government. Article 38 subclause 2 states that the state main function is that its main function is to minimize, to lessen the extent of inequalities in terms of income, and also to make sure that status, facility, job opportunity, all these types of inequalities are removed and amongst the individuals and groups of people. Not only in Allahabad, that two individuals living in Allahabad and same post are given different income, so now you are eliminating that inequality. No, if at the same post all over the India, every person is bound to get the approximately same amount of income. So that's how the thing is. So you have to ensure the equality in status, facilities, opportunities, income, not only amongst individuals living in the same area but amongst groups of people living in different areas. Some of important DPSPs include right to an adequate means of livelihood for citizens, equal pay for equal work for both men and women, as I gave you that example. Men and women employed at same post but getting different income, so that is wrong. There should be equal income for them, and adequate job opportunities should be available for the citizens of the nation to take them up and to have something as a livelihood to survive upon. Living wages for workers, there will be a minimized amount set as a wage to be given to workers, and above that to be provided by the ठेकेदार और व्हाट्सएवर, उसके ऊपर दे सकते हैं, लेकिन एक हमने मिनिमाइज लिमिट सेट कर दी कि 10 रुपये पर दिन का तो देना ही है. अगर वो ज़्यादा काम करें तो इससे आप बढ़ा दो, लेकिन वरना ये 10 रुपये तो आपको देना ही देना है. सो मिनिमाइज्ड लिमिट सेट करके वेजेस प्रोवाइड करना. डेली वेजेस पे भी वर्कर्स एम्प्लॉयड होते हैं जो कंस्ट्रक्शन वर्क्स करते हैं. Equal justice and free legal aid. The people who cannot afford those expensive lawyers. तो उनको every citizen in India is granted a right that he will be represented in the court, whether or not he is able to arrange for a hefty or expensive lawyer, but he will get a free legal aid. उसको एक फ्री में स्टेट की तरफ से लॉयर अपॉइंट किया जाएगा, ठीक है, जिसका पैसा स्टेट देगी या जो भी देगा, लेकिन उसको राइट है कि वो रिप्रेजेंट हो. इवन द क्रिमिनल्स दे ऑल्सो हैव लॉयर्स. अगर वो क्राइम कर रहे हैं, रेप क्राइम जिसने किया है उसका भी लॉयर होता है, बिकॉज ही ऑल्सो हैज़ द राइट टू बी रिप्रेजेंटेड इन द कोर्ट. सो लीगल एड का सबको राइट है, जस्टिस पाने का सबको राइट है इक्वली. ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ विलेज पंचायत, प्रोविजन ऑफ जस्ट एंड ह्यूमन कंडीशंस ऑफ वर्क एंड मैटर्निटी रिलीफ. मैटर्निटी लीव मिलती है विमेन को, मैटर्निटी लीव भी प्रोवाइड की जाती है आजकल. ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ पंचायती राज इन द विलेज. अर्बन एरियाज़ में तो म्यूनसिपल कॉरपोरेशन म्यूनसिपैलिटीज़ होती हैं, बट रूरल एरियाज़ में एट द विलेज लेवल किस तरीके से हैंडल करेंगे सिचुएशन को. सो फॉर दैट वी हैव पंचायत, पंचायती राज है उसके लिए. एक ह्यूमन और जस्टिफिकेबल कंडीशंस होंगी वर्क की, सैनिटेशन की, हेल्थ की, दैट ऑल इज़ ऑल्सो एंश्योर्ड. यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड, प्रमोशन ऑफ एजुकेशनल एंड इकोनॉमिक इंटरेस्ट ऑफ SC ST एंड अदर वीकर सेक्शंस, ताकि उनको भी मेन स्ट्रीम सोसाइटी तक लाया जा सके. तो उनका एजुकेशनल इंटरेस्ट प्रोटेक्ट करना, उनको इक्वल जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटी देना, दैट्स वाई रिजर्वेशंस आर डन फॉर सच सोशली बैकवर्ड कम्युनिटीज़ ऑफ द सोसाइटी. Duty of state to raise level of nutrition, improve public health, protection and improvement of environment, promotion of international peace and security. As I said, peace, harmony should be maintained. Health, sanitation, proper facilities should be there. That's why the government is now making those public toilets so that the people may not pee or do the things in public, but they go to proper toilets, and there is proper sanitation facilities in the rural areas also, because generally in urban areas each and every house has a toilet, but rural areas this thing is lacking. So for that also now the government has taken the step forward to make public toilets for them. So, and to raise the level of nutrition, to provide food or a 2 square meal to the poor people, to improve their health, sanitation facilities, to protect the environment and maintain peace, harmony, law and order situation in the country. Riots नहीं होने चाहिए ना, तब तो riots ही होते रहे, दंगे फसाद होते रहे, तो फिर क्या हुआ. A large number of laws have been enacted and adopted to implement Dpsps. Examples include Legal Services Authority Act 1987, Right to Free and Compulsory Education 2009, Child Labour Prohibition Act 1986. So these are various acts or legislations which were being enacted to promote and to implement the Dpsps. Legal Service Authority Act to provide justice and free legal aid to the people. फ्री एंड कंपल्सरी एजुकेशन, हर बच्चे को एजुकेशन दी जाएगी 6 to 14 के विदाउट एनी डिस्क्रिमिनेशन. सो दैट इज़ राइट टू एजुकेशन एक्ट. फ्री एंड कंपल्सरी, यू कैन सी दिस वर्ड. गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स जो होते हैं उसमें फ्री एजुकेशन दी जाती है, कोई भी फीस नहीं लेते वो लोग. एंड ऑल्सो दे ऑफर the uniforms for free, shoes, socks, bags, books, all are free in the government schools. So that is completely free, so that the elementary education is provided to each and every child of the nation. Child Labour Prohibition Act, right against exploitation, which we did. To protect the environment, Environment Protection Act 1986. So you see, ये सारे जो एक्ट्स हैं वो किसी ना किसी तरह DPSP से कनेक्टेड होंगे. वाइल्ड लाइफ प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट 1972 टू प्रोटेक्ट द नेचुरल लाइफ. मिनिमम वेजेस एक्ट, एज आई टोल्ड यू, एक मिनिमम लिमिट सेट कर दी जाती है डेली वेजेस की, कि आप इतना तो देंगे ही देंगे, अगर वो ज़्यादा काम कर रहे हैं तो आप इससे ज़्यादा देंगे, बट दिस मिनिमम अमाउंट ऑफ मनी यू हैव टू पे एट एनी कॉस्ट. Equal Pay for Equal Work Act, etc., to remove the inequality among the men and women equal post that I told you about. Constitution 73rd 74th Amendment Act 1992 led to the establishment of Panchayati Raj institutions and urban local bodies based on democratic principles. Why democratic principles? Because for them also to elect the head of these systems, elections are held regularly. Importantly, Constitution 80 Amendment Act 2002 paved way for introduction of right to education for children in age group of 6 to 14 years as a fundamental right, as what I am telling you from so many times. So 80 Amendment 2002, that elementary education, the 6 to 14 years elementary education. Supreme Court, while interpreting constitutional provisions, elevated some Dpsps to the status of fundamental rights. So Supreme Court in various cases they came to the idea that some Dpsps can be promoted to the status of fundamental rights, like right to equal pay for equal work in Randhir Singh versus Union of India, right to clean healthy environment, right to clean healthy environment in MC Mehta versus Kamal Nath, right to free legal aid in Husaindra Khatun versus Home Secretary. On question of interrelationship between fundamental rights and Dpsps, Supreme Court in Keshwanand Bhatti's case held that fundamental rights and directive principle constitute the conscience of Constitution. Held that so conscience means आत्मा है, soul है. There is no antithesis between fundamental rights and DPs, and one supplements the other. एक दूसरे को ये पूरा करते हैं. That is what Supreme Court said. In Ashok Kumar Thakur versus Union of India, Supreme Court held that no distinction can be made between the two sets of rights. Fundamental rights represent the political and civil rights, and Dpsps embody social and economic rights. So political and civil, what would be the rights means politically और लोगों के पास क्या होने चाहिए, that is fundamental rights, and socially what could be the conditions of the society that the state needs to maintain, that is Dpsp. Merely because Dpsps are non-justiciable by judicial process means they cannot be enforced in the courts. It doesn't mean that they are of subordinate importance, just that they cannot be enforceable in the court. इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि उनकी importance कम है इसलिए वो कोर्ट में नहीं ले जा सकते. Fundamental duties, it shall be the duty of every citizen of India. Now see, if some rights are provided to you, then it is expected that you may perform these several duties which are given to every citizen of India: to abide by Constitution, to respect its ideals, institutions, national flag, national anthem. So every citizen of India is bound to give respect and to follow the Constitution, to respect the national flag, national anthem, national song, to cherish and follow noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom as we got independence from a colonial rule. So to embrace, to cherish that history and to follow the ideals which had taken us to the path of independence, to uphold and protect sovereignty, unity, integrity of India, to define the country and render national service when called upon to do so. Whenever nation is calling you, it is duty for you to come forward and render the, जैसे कहते हैं ना कि हमने धरती माँ का बोझ चुका दिया, मतलब बोझ नहीं, हमने धरती माँ का कर्ज चुका दिया. पहले के लोग, अगर आप कोई भी हिस्टोरिकल सीरियल देखें तो उसमें बोलते हैं कि धरती मेरी माँ है और उनका कर्ज मैं अपनी जान देकर चुकाऊंगी. So they are rendering the national service when their country demanded. To promote harmony and spirit of common brotherhood, bhaichara, to protect and to promote harmony, peace, law and order situation in the nation, in the society, amongst all people of India. हम सब भारतवासी भाई बहन हैं, ये प्रेयर में बोला जाता है, प्लेज में बोला जाता है. That is the spirit of brotherhood, that is to maintain the spirit of brotherhood. Linguistic, religional or sectional diversities, to renounce practice derogatory to dignity of women. वो चीज़ें छोड़ देना that will be derogatory or that will damage the dignity of women. To protect the religious, linguistic, regional or sectional diversity of the society, as India is a country of diversities, varieties. to value and preserve the rich heritage of our culture, to protect the historical monuments because they are a part of the cultural heritage, to protect and improve the natural environment, living creatures, to protect wildlife, plants, flora, fauna को protect करना as it is a part of our nature, to develop scientific temper, humanism and spirit of inquiry and reform, to safeguard public property को protect करना. public property है तो उसमें हम कूड़ा फेंक कर चले गए, सब नहीं होना चाहिए. बस इसको डैमेज कर दिया because it's just a public property, हमारी प्रॉपर्टी थोड़ी ना, तो हम क्यों इसकी इतनी देखभाल करें. नो, you should consider public property to be a part of your and your future generations. So you should also protect public property as the way you do with the private property. To abjure violence को इतना ना अपनाना जिससे कि पीस और लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की सिचुएशन हो. To strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity so that nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. So you have to it's not a duty but it's just what the nation expects from you, that you have to excel or you have to be an expert in different spheres of life or different arenas of co-curricular or curricular activities so that nation, the name of India, rises to higher levels continuously and it achieves more and more. Constitution 42nd Amendment 1976 added 4A, Article 51A on fundamental duties of citizens. These are 11 in number. So these are 11 fundamental duties that we just read, which were added by 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. There is no provision in Constitution to enforce fundamental duties. So fundamental duties को enforce करवाना कि अगर किसी बंदे ने national anthem नहीं गाया तो हम बोलें कि नहीं तुम्हारी fundamental duty है, चलो कोर्ट चलो, तुमने क्यों नहीं गाया. तो fundamental duty as Dpsps cannot be enforced. So similarly there is no provision as such that will help you to enforce or to pressurize somebody to follow the fundamental duty. Supreme Court in Vijay Emmanuel vs State of Kerala held that duties imposed on citizens may be enforced through enactment of legislation. So through legislations, through framing laws, it may happen that some of the fundamental duties may be imposed on the people. For example, Prevention of Insult to National Honours Act punishes a person who insults the national honours. These duties are read along with fundamental rights. National honours means जो भी national की जो भी nationality चीज़ें हैं that are to be taken as a pride or honor, आप उसकी insult कर रहे हो, so you will be punished for that. These duties are read along with fundamental rights as stated by Supreme Court in Mohan Kumar vs Union of India. Courts may also enforce duties while balancing and harmonizing them with fundamental rights. So they are read with fundamental duties, तो उन fundamental rights को enforce करने के साथ साथ अगर fundamental duties को balance या harmonize करने की ज़रूरत हुई तो वो duties भी enforce कर सकते हैं wherever the case may seem fit. Constitutional provision for amendment of Indian Constitution Part 20 of Constitution provides in detail in the procedure for amendment. Article 368 specifies the powers of Parliament to amend Constitution and lays down the procedure. So amendment अगर करना है तो वो कैसे होगा, what would be its procedure, that is also mentioned in the Constitution. Part 20 Article 368. Part 20 states that what would be the procedure for amendment of any article in the Constitution, and Article 368 gives the power to Parliament that Parliament will be able to amend the Constitution, and by what procedure, that also is in Article 368 itself. There is no limitation on constituent power of Parliament for amending by adding, removing or improving provisions in Constitution. कोई भी limitation, कोई भी restriction नहीं है on the powers of Parliament that they can add, remove or change anything in the provisions of Constitution. Initial step is introduction of a bill for purpose in either house of Parliament. Bill has to be passed by a majority of total membership of that house and by a majority of not less than 2/3 of that house present and voting. The bill is then sent for president's assent, and as soon as the bill gets the president's signature or assent, it becomes a law. So first of all, for any amendment, you need to present a bill, you need to prepare a bill and present it in any of the House of Parliament, and there it has to be passed by a majority of total members, and also by a majority or two-third majority of the people who are present in the house at that day when the voting was done, and then it is sent for president's signature. Some amendments require to be ratified by legislators of not less than one half of states by resolutions to that effect passed by those legislatures before bill making provision for such amendment is presented to president for assent. So there are some amendments जिसमें states के one half की भी ज़रूरत पड़ती है, एंड देन ओनली यहाँ पर तो सिर्फ 2/3 ऑफ एनी हाउस एंड देन बिल इज सेंट टू प्रेसिडेंट, बट सम अमेंडमेंट्स आर सच दैट कि उसमें हर एक स्टेट के one half की भी ज़रूरत पड़ती है, एंड देन ओनली इट कुड बी सेंड टू प्रेसिडेंट. 97 amendments have been made so far. अभी 97 नहीं है, now they are 104, and you can be more updated also, check it on internet. Right now they are not 97, 104 was the last amendment which was made. Supreme Court in case of Keshwanand Bharati versus State of Kerala case has restrained the powers of Parliament to amend Indian Constitution in respect of its basic structure. That means Keshwanand Bharati case में इतना ही है कि Supreme Court said that Parliament can amend anything and everything, but you cannot disturb the basic structure of the Constitution. That's why this is also known as the basic structure case, and this is also known as the basic structure doctrine. ठीक है? Now special status we will do in the next video.